Hello and welcome back to the European Research Showcase. My name is Sam Langford. I'm the coordinator for the Global Science Show who's helping to put this event together as part of Intersections 2023. We have got researchers from all over the European Union who are showcasing their work today, telling you about who they are, what they do, and why they think it's awesome, and why they think you should find it awesome as well. And I'm back and delighted to be joined by another guest to talk about who they are. So please say hello to Ed McGowan. Hi Ed, how you doing?
Hi Sam, I'm good, thanks.
How's your day going so far? All good?
Yeah, nice and easy.
Good.
No problems yet, so I'm happy.
Hopefully it stays that way. I'm going to open with a question that I usually do, which is who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Ed McGowan. I'm a PhD researcher at the University of Leicester, and my PhD project is focused on studying extremely old volcanic deposits in the Lake District. They're about 450 million years old, and I am trying to use a lot of different ways, but mostly uh, analyzing their chemistry to work out where did these deposits come from and where are the volcanoes, basically.
So, how do you come to be in that line of work? Tell me about your career journey. How did you get there?
Um, so it started off, I think, like with a lot of children when they're growing up, there's that phase where they just pick up rocks all the time and put them in their pockets. And I never really grew out of that. Um, so when it came to deciding what do I want to do at uni, I looked around my room desperately searching for any inspiration. And that's when I looked at my bookshelf and I saw three shelves just full of rocks. And I was like, well, that's decided then. I will study geology. And I went on to do a bachelor's at uni, but loved it so much that I quickly upgraded to the master's, and then that's just rolled into a PhD now.
And so, as part of the PhD, you're looking at volcanic deposits in Lake District, and what exactly is it you're looking into to try and find out about them?
So the type of volcanoes I study are called calderas, and when they erupt, they all the magma gets evacuated out of the magma chamber, and it ends up causing it to be unstable and collapses in on itself. And so, for us as geologists, when we study these rocks, it's extremely difficult because they buried themselves when the volcano collapsed. But the ones in the Lake District, due to a lot of tectonic processes, have been uplifted, and then the glaciers from the last ice age cut through them. So we get these nice cross sections through the cold areas, which means that we get to see their internal structure, but we don't get to see more modern ones, which pose more of a risk and therefore are important to figure out how can we protect people who live nearby them.
And so, what in what ways is that? Are you thinking like modern eruption? Is that what we're looking at there? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's trying to look at these really old ones to figure out how will modern ones erupt and how do they pose a risk to local populace.
Okay. And is that something that you have involvement as well in, like looking at as you're looking at things that are here in the UK, but also perhaps at volcanic activity around the world? Is that something you're personally involved in, or do you work with others?
Not personally involved in. I have worked with people in the past. So a friend of mine who was doing her PhD on Tal caldera in the Philippines, I went out and I helped her study that, which it had a small eruption back in 2020, so it's still active, but nothing on the scale that we're studying, thankfully, for the locals.
Yeah.
But no, it's not something I do right now, personally.
But like the work that you're doing is very much important to inform a lot of what is
Oh, yeah.
potentially that's like really great. Um, I wanted to touch on something that I know that you do, that I find extremely interesting from a science communication point of view, which is video game work in terms of the way that magma is represented in video games. Is that right?
Yeah. So after my master's, I wanted to get onto a PhD, but had to wait a while to try and get the right one. And in that time, I took a step out of geology and got a job elsewhere, but I still loved it so much that I wanted to keep a foot in the door. And that's when I realized that there is a way that you can travel to another world, to another volcano and study it right from the comfort of your own bed. And that is through video games. So I started looking at Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was the first one that I looked at, and looking at how accurate are the volcanic features in there. What do they get right? What do they get wrong? Which is developer imaginations, and what is actually something that you can go out and see in the real world if you wanted to.
And something that we see more and more happening in the video game development industry is having those scientific consultants on board, to help improve that realism to try and make things as lifelike as they possibly can. What game have you found has been the most true to real existence in terms of how it's represented? Or
Um,
any that got it just like really wrong that made you laugh?
um, so I'd say uh, Legends Arceus, Pokemon Legends Arceus was a really fun one that I actually ended up writing a paper with a friend of mine who I met online, and the entire map for Legends Arceus, the Hisui region, is based on Hokkaido in Japan. And so what we did is we looked at the features in the video game. For example, I remember in the first trailer when I saw it, I saw this crater going upwards, and there was a lake with an island in the middle. And immediately I just went, that's a Caldera. I'm sure of it. And we looked at the video game map, saw that it was located in the southeast region of the map, actually no, southwest. And then we looked on Hokkaido in the southwest, and there you could see this crater with a lake with an island in the middle. And it turned out that that was Lake Toya, formed when Toya caldera collapsed. So that was straight away I could spot there was a caldera, and then researching it through turned out it was. And so we did that throughout the whole game, and you could draw all of these inspirations that you can see in the game and match them up to the real world. So that was actually quite fun going through that.
I love it. I love the idea of being able to combine interests. So your kind of professional interest in geology with, I imagine, a hobby interest in video games, and end up with a published paper. Like, that's
Yeah.
just incredible. Um, so coming back to more day to day, what does an average day look like for you? Is there one?
Um,
Is there an average day?
well, that's the thing I love about this is that it's very seasonal. It changes throughout the year. So in the winter time, I'm reading papers, processing my data, looking at which samples match meth, and which ones don't, and trying to figure out what they mean. Springtime, it's warming up to the field season, so I'm starting to look at maps, looking at my data and figuring out what am I missing, what do I need to find the data for, and start to plan my field work. Then it goes into the summer where it's actually nice in the Lake District. Um, does actually sunshine there. I've got suntans to prove it. But that's when I'm out there, I'm hiking up the mountains, looking at the rocks there, taking notes of the details of them, and then smashing a few pieces off to bring back with me. And then into the autumn, I'm taking those samples that I collected, crushing them up, reprocessing them, and putting them in a spectrometer so I can get the geochemical data out of them by the end of autumn. And then it starts that whole cycle of winter, looking through data, reprocessing, and goes through that cycle.
It's nice to have that kind of seasonal cycle, and absolutely, definitely worst places to spend your summer working days up a mountain in the Lake District. Um,
Definitely.
what would be the one thing that you would want public audiences to know about your work? If you had 30 seconds to elevate or pitch them, what would you say?
I would say rocks aren't boring. It's very easy for people to think that, especially the Lake District, it's just dull grey rocks. Um, but they're some of them are, I'll give you that, but a lot of them aren't, and many of them show amazing details of volcanic eruptions that happened 450 million years ago, which you can compare to more modern day eruptions that happened last week. So they may be old, but they're certainly not boring.
No, they're these things right under our feet that tell so much of a story. I imagine so. Incredible. Well, as with all of these interviews, the time just vanishes from us. So we sadly are at the end now. But Ed, thank you so much for coming to give us a little insight into the work that you do. Where could people find out more about you or the work that you do if they wanted to?
Um, the best place is Twitter. My handle is the volcano guy with underscores between the word. I'm working on creating other accounts because of the way things are going, but Twitter is definitely my easiest way. And if I do create other social media accounts, I'll post on there to let people know.
Fabulous. The miraculousness of post editing, I'll have made that handle appear on the screen as well. So please do go and find out more about the work that Ed's doing if you would like to. But otherwise, thank you so much, folks, for watching along. If you get any questions or comments, please do leave them below the post or above the post, depending on where you're watching. And otherwise, we will see you very soon with some more content from the European Research Showcase.